All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started now. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of today to spend some time with us today on this webinar. So what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be doing a recap of another year of Autodesk University and what BIMBOX can do for your AEC firm. I'm Josh Radle. I'm the ATG USA Product Manager for BIMBOX. So we'll go ahead and get started now. Some of the topics we're going to cover today, we're just going to do a little recap of AU, some of the questions that came up, why we're at AU surrounding BIMBOX, just some of the experiences we had there. We're going to talk about some news with BIMBOX. We're going to look at the Stryker II, some of the changes there, and then the Raptor II that we're going to be doing, that we're talking about, and then we're going to finish it off by talking about what makes these machines different from the competitors, from, like, we'll say HP, Dell, Alienware, because all those guys were there as well. So we're just going to talk about those differences and kind of answer some questions that came up while we were at AU. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, so another year in the books for Autodesk University, 2019 this year. This was our booth. We were right next to the Unreal Engine. Great turnout. We met a lot of great people, had a lot of great conversations. I learned a bunch of stuff just by talking with people, the stuff that I had no idea about, and just by interacting with people, it was, hey, I learned something new that I had no idea about. So this was our lovely crew that we had there this year. We had people from all different offices. We had the North, we had Phoenix, we had Little Rock office, and we even had a couple people that work out of the remote office. So it was great for ATG to all come together and learn as a team on how we can better serve all of our customers by interacting with everybody. It was great. Really good conversations happened. We had a bunch of hardware vendors come over and start testing our BIMBOX machines. They put their software on there. It was a really great result. So some of the news with BIMBOX. At AU, we unveiled our new cases. These are brand new, never before seen. This was the first rendition that we've ever done of these cases, and we unveiled them last week. So we can see here that much like the old ones, these ones are all machined out of aluminum, more industrial look, a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. But for this, we improved the airflow. So we put a larger radius in there. We went from a 240 millimeter fan to a 360 millimeter fan for optimal cooling, because BIMBOX takes pride in our cooling. We want our machines to stay cool all day long while we're beating on them, because we're working on them. These cases are FC and CE certified, so which means we'll be able to sell them outside of the U.S., which is a huge step for us. Because traditionally it was just in America, but now we can take the next step forward and shipping outside of the U.S. Some of the new things, it's going to be faster RAM, higher clock speeds, high-speed, low-latency RAM that are going to be in these new machines. And we're also going to be using a Type-C port on top. So we're still going to have the USB 3.0, but we're also doing a Type-C because we need to get our data faster. We need to be able to transfer it to our machine so we can keep working a lot faster. In doing so, we found a couple of slight modifications that we're going to make to improve the airflow even more. It was already good, but now we're trying to make it better, constantly improving. So that's some of the new modifications that are coming out, just for better airflow, better cooling in there. But overall, these are what the new cases are going to be looking like. The big news for BIMBOX. BIMBOX is now partnered with a company called Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro is a $43 billion Fortune 500 company, where we'll have the backing and support of a full 3-year warranty. At the end of December, BIMBOX will be offering next-day on-site support. So if your machine goes down, you have somebody on site within 24 hours to fix your machine for you. So this was a really huge one for BIMBOX, because now we offer this is the same enterprise support that Dell and HP offers. So now that we offer all that, we're right up there with HP and Dell, so we can support our enterprise customers, next day on-site support, and our full 3-year warranty. So, and we can mass produce these things at a higher volume, so there's no need to worry about, oh, I'm not going to get it in a timely manner. Nope, that's all taken care of now. Shipping will be taken care of. All good things, all really good things. So this will be rolling out at the end of December here. So now, since we have all that, what makes BIMBOX different from the competitors? A couple questions we had when we came up. So we had a couple clients that use a certain type of Dell machine, and they're like, well, it's going pretty good, but it's not doing what I need it to do. What BIMBOX does is we take pride in cooling our systems. We take pride in tuning the machines properly for what it's application specific. So our Stryker II that just came out, it's geared for Revit, AutoCAD. It's great for Enscape. It's good for those single core software. It's also good for laser scanning as well. We tested the Infinity Leica software on this machine, and it crushed it. It did extremely well. So the Stryker II is optimized, as we can see here, for these machines, or for these pieces of software, and it's just snappier. Overall, like when you're thinking about doing a command and then you have to wait, well, you no longer have to wait. It's pretty much instantaneously. Imagine designing in a world where as fast as you're thinking, it's doing it. You don't have to sit there and wait for it. That's what these machines are geared for. We take time in learning the software you guys use, and we'll properly tune the machines for your specific needs. So again, the Stryker is good for all Revit, AutoCAD, Navisworks. It's good for Lumion too. We'll talk about a Lumion machine next that we can, optimize more for heavy visualization stuff. I was working on a project that took about 30 minutes for me to load up. I put it on the Stryker, and it took 10 minutes to load up. So now I'm saving time by just simply negating 20 minutes of open and load time. These are things that BIMBOX has taken into account for. It's built by users for users. This is something HP and Dell, they just find you the best products out there, or find you the best hardware, and then just say go, most expensive. Well, that's not always the case. So our Raptor system, we can see here it's got a liquid-cooled GPU in here. We can see the big 360-millimeter fans. So for heavy point cloud use, we're talking like big laser scan projects, big long drawn-out real-time rendering processes like V-Ray renderings, big Lumion projects and stuff. This is where the Raptor would come into play. We loaded up a big point cloud machine, or we loaded up a huge point cloud on here, and the fact that we're able to spin around this point cloud with ease and make changes to it, even load it into Revit and continue working without any downtime or without any lag in it was proof in the pudding there that these machines were specifically tuned for our software. So the Raptor will have an 18-core CPU running at 4.5 gigahertz safely all day long. Come with a 10 gig NIC card in there. We can see the Raptor was built for big V-Ray scenes, Scene, Cyclone, Recap, InfraWorks, Corona, Unreal Engine, and even the Infinity Leica software, which blew that test out of the water. It was insane. It was a really good thing. So those are what the two machines are built for, and we can see, what they look like with the new cases on them. So now we've talked about that. What are we doing underneath the hood that makes these machines so different? Yes, we've had a couple people like, well, I can go spec for spec with you, and it's cheaper. Fine. Nobody's disagreeing with you. That's fine. But it's what's under the hood that counts. We've tested all these different products, and we've come up with the best solution specifically for the AEC industry. Not knocking on the AET guys. They're just going by what Autodesk recommends you from Autodesk's website, but it's kind of convoluted to say. They just give you a wide range. Well, who really knows what's the best, hardware out there for what we do? This is where BIMBOX has tried all these different scenarios, because we're all users at the end of the day who use the software daily. So we want to make machines that were built for us, because we understand the struggles that we all go through. So that's why we say these machines were built by users for users. So one of the things is we'll use an i9 instead of a Xeon. Well, why? So with the unlocked processors, we can get them up to 5 gigahertz solid. Excuse me. So we can run higher clock speeds, and keep it cool all day long. Whereas the locked processors, the Xeons, those are meant for large scientific crunching data all day long. Big servers use these. We'll say like long, we're expecting like long 14.5-hour, 15-hour V-Ray render or something like that. Well, but then it'll clock itself down. We want to run high clock speeds all day long because with our single core software like Revit, we need to run high speeds all day long, right? So why not go with an unlocked processor like the i9, where we can get up to 5.2 gigahertz safely all day long without experiencing any thermal throttling. So that's a big difference on why we use the i9 processors. Well, what also we'll do is we'll use the GeForce cards over the QUADRO cards. Big difference is we can do higher frames per second. Who's experienced when we're spinning around a model in Revit or in Civil 3D, or you're experiencing a lag, like it's not refreshing like fast enough, it's not refreshing as fast as we would like it to do. Well, with the RTX cards, we have a higher frames per second, which is perfect for what we need. It just goes faster. Everything's snappier. This is the type of stuff that enables us to work faster. When I can spin around the model and I don't have to wait for it to regen, I can just keep working because it's when I click and hold and spin, I can see everything that's going on. I can zoom in, scroll out. I'm not experiencing any delay. Because at the end of the day, time is money. If I can save myself 15 to 20% just by negating, opening, and saving files, syncing to central, spinning around the model, just waiting for that thing to regen, why not? What point does that, and what cost do you put on that? Now I get to the biggest part of it. We do liquid cooling in all of our machines versus standard cooling. Why? Think about this. When you're cooking with a frying pan, what are you going to do to cool that thing down really quickly and to keep it nice and cool? You're going to put it underwater, right? You're not going to sit there and blow on this thing because it's going to take a while, especially once it's really hot. So this is why we use a water cooling system in all of our machines, because water is the most effective way to cool anything that's hot. The reason we do this is because I'm sure we've all been there. It's the 11th hour of the day. We're trying to get our projects done. Our computer just won't go anymore, right? Because we've been beating on it all day. Well, whereas a BIMBOX, it'll stay cool all day long, so it'll run at optimal speeds all day long. So we can be rest assured at that 11th hour, we'll be able to get our project done. We don't have to worry about our computer blue screening, experiencing thermal throttling or anything, because it's running nice and cool all day long. This is why we use liquid cooling. Now, I know what some people are thinking, well, how are you using the same CPU? You're right, we are. But BIMBOX holds, so here's a traditional, typical water cooling system. We can see the liquids getting pulled in here. Here's the heat sink, here's the spreader, and the thermal paste. Well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what BIMBOX has the patent on, and we're the only ones doing this, is because of a process called direct die delidding. If you've ever looked at a CPU before, you see the cap, the silver cap on the top where it says the information about the processor. Well, if you take that cap off, delidding it, what you're doing is exposing the metal of that CPU. We buff that down so it's nice metal, nice polished metal, and then we'll stick the water cooler on top of that. So now we're saving ourselves 20 degrees Celsius because you got metal on metal contact. So now we can run high speeds all day long without experiencing thermal throttling. To do this, we have to modify the motherboard a little bit so the CPU sits better on there and so the water cooler sits on there. But these are the type of things that makes some of the machines, or makes the BIMBOX machines special. None of our other competitors can do this because BIMBOX holds the exclusive patent on this. Just like with RAM. You can get spec'd up by Dell some DDR4, 2600 speed RAM, but is that really the best RAM for you? We use DDR4 3600, 3200 speed RAM with a high speed, low latency RAM, or with a high speed, low latency frequency, because we need to be able to get our information fast and find it fast and get it back to the processor so we can keep working. Because with Revit, it's pretty much database driven, so we need to find information rapidly. We need to do regens quick. Everything needs to be faster. So yes, the RAM is a little bit more expensive, but at what cost does that override everything? When I can instantaneously find something, or when I can shave, like I was talking about, that 15 to 20% based off of how fast I can keep working. Again, this is all possible with the direct ID letting process because the brains of our computer are running smooth all day long. So, Veritas, our friends over at Clark Construction, they did a benchmark, one of their benchmarks, which is huge linked models in big files. So they stress tested it too. So they ran it, they did the RFO benchmark with a BIMBOX versus a box machine. So we can see here identical specs. For the cost, the BIMBOX was a bit cheaper. So they ran the test once. It was 39.9% faster with the same specs. Well, that's great. First pass, good. But then they run it 10 times, kind of simulate how an 8-hour day would look. Because, again, we're not just doing one thing. We're beating our machines all day long because we have to get our stuff done. So they simulated it over 10 times, and the Box X ended up being a lot slower because it started to get hot. It wasn't properly cooled. It wasn't properly tuned for the specific software applications that we use on a daily basis. So the BIMBOX ended up being 40% faster because it's properly tuned, it's properly configured to what we're doing, and it's properly cooled. So it's not going to get hot at the end of the day. It's not going to get, you're not going to experience thermal throttling or anything because all these machines are tuned and properly cooled. You're paying for some TLC underneath the hood of what's going on with these machines because at the end of the day, we know the struggles. We've all been there. We've done that too. So that's why these machines are so powerful. All right. Any questions?